Welcome to Death and Aliens, an in-depth look at horror and sci-fi TV from two friends who vaguely know what they're doing. I'm Courtney.
And I'm MK.
And how are you?
I have definitely been better.
Heard that. Heard
Um,
that.
yeah. Just got some personal stuff, like family stuff happening that is causing a lot of stress and drama. Um, Brie, if you're listening to this, which you're probably not, because I don't think you would watch The Exorcist, but maybe you'll just listen to the beginning. It's not our family, so breathe. Um, um, but the only joy I have in my life in this current moment is that Patrick Mahomes has the worst record as a QB in the NFL, and I'm sure that will only last for like 13 more hours, but it's fine. It's fine.
It's fine. It's a good week.
It's a good two
It's a
days.
good week. Good two
Um,
days for us.
the Chiefs Lions game was insane to watch. I did not believe that that was happening. Um, but yeah, football's back, so that is exciting. And I actually have a fantasy team this year, so it is very exciting.
Welcome to the dark side.
I know, like it's awful because I have literally like obsessively checked it so much that I'm
Like
like
every day. It doesn't
every
change
day.
every day, but you
No, it
check it every
doesn't.
day. Yep.
It doesn't.
Hmm.
And like I was like I didn't have anyone in the game on Thursday, but I was obsessively checking everyone else in my league's scores to see how their players
Hmm.
were doing, even like people
Hmm.
that I definitely am not facing this week. Like I it was
Yep.
yeah,
I told you. Welcome.
it's
This
a
is your life
horrible
now.
no. I have too many other things in my life.
Nope.
I have
This is your life
school,
until
I have
February.
but I have a school and I have work and I have work and I have the
Too bad.
podcast.
Well, don't forgo the podcast, but everything else, sorry. You're just it is just what it is now.
Yeah, kids, sorry I don't have anything to teach you on Monday morning. I was too busy checking my fantasy football scores.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to make sure you're at the top still
I
and how things
I
are
am.
going.
Yeah. I am currently projected to have the highest score this week, so that is nice, but I guess we'll find out tomorrow if that is still a thing.
Yeah, tomorrow's the day.
The worst part is I have to go to a birthday party tomorrow at 1,
Mm.
but also all the
See,
football games start at 1.
I'm going to brunch tomorrow with Caitlin and Melanie, and it's I'm excited. I love them dearly. And I haven't had brunch with them in like a month and a half, so it's good.
Yeah.
But
Well,
maybe they'll have
and
a TV where we're
it's it's Tom's
at.
birthday and his parents are here from the UK.
Mm,
So like I obviously saw them at the wedding in July and now they're
sure.
here visiting from England. So I can't just like not go because of
Yeah.
fantasy football.
Right, right. Yeah, and I'm thinking I might go to like a show after, like at the movies, the movie show. After
Yeah.
I keep calling it shows and say I'm going to the theater, and be like, "Oh, what theater show?" You're just like, "No, like the actual like physical movie theater." Like,
Yeah, yeah,
don't
yeah.
just yeah. So I might go do that tomorrow afterwards, because that won't be my
Nice.
whole day,
Yeah.
and then catch like the 7 o'clock game or whatever at the end.
Mm, yeah.
But speaking of games, my building that I work in, my office building, so I do have to actually go to work and not just do fantasy football. Um, does this like giveaway every year since COVID because they want people to like work in the office so they can keep making money off of businesses. And so they did scans so, like over the summer they do concerts, and if you win, you get like tickets to a concert or whatever. But during the fall, they do it for Giants and Jets games. I do not care about the Giants or the Jets. Let me start there. I could care less about them. Um, but I won for Monday night's game. And so you won't know this when I'm at the game. It will have already happened. But me and my friend Dom have sweet tickets to the Jets and Bills game. And I am so stoked. We're going to get there like right before the game starts because he lives in Long Island. But it's fine. It's gonna be fun.
I when you texted me that you got the tickets, I texted Dan and I said, Courtney just won tickets to a suite at the Bills Jets game on Monday. He said, OMG, lucky. And I said, right. And he said, so we're flying down to join her, right? I said, sure, you can do that.
Yeah. He could come join me. I would have let him go with me, but like only one of you could go with me. I only have 2 tickets, so
Oh,
you know. I mean, I would have let you first, obviously, but
yeah, it's the first week of school. He's not going to take off at work any more than I am. I don't know who he thought he was kidding.
So I'm super stoked about that. I've never been to a football game here. I've been to hockey, but I mean, I went back to football back home, obviously, but not here. And
which is so
and
funny.
they're not playing the Saints this year, at least not. I don't even know if they're playing the Saints. I haven't looked at the full Saints schedule.
Did I tell you?
But they're not playing here. So
I got the Saints defense for my fantasy league just for you. So that if they do badly, it's your fault. Yeah.
Yeah. They're not going to do great.
They're not actually ranked too badly. They're pretty average.
I'm hearing good thing. Well, we switched out not defense, obviously. We switched out our quarterback this year for the best. But we lost our kicker. A lot of things are changing in the scheme of the Saints team. So I've heard we're going to do better this year.
Yeah, they weren't
good at early games. I'm not good at preseason games. So I have no idea what's happening in the world.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I have the Bills defense though. So
I know.
Twinsies.
But it's funny because I'm the one who said I didn't want to miss the Bills Jets game, so we needed to reschedule when we record the podcast. Because if you guys don't know, we usually record on Monday nights. And I said I was not missing the Bills game to record, and now you're the one who's going to the fucking Bills game.
Yeah, now I'm going physically going to the game, and I was like, yeah, I definitely couldn't have recorded. So good thing we prepared in advance,
right?
Yeah, so that should be super fun. I'm hoping. I don't know how suites work because I'm not a gazillionaire, and so I don't know. I'm hoping there's just food constant.
There is,
and drinks constant.
Yeah,
because they're trying not to get try to get to your seat by 7:30. Game starts at 8:15. We're gonna get there at 7:30 probably. Yeah. Our train will get there at 7:30, so we'll probably get our seats at 7:45 or something.
I don't know. All stadiums are slightly different, so I genuinely don't know. But in every suite I've been in, which is 3 different ones, I've had a suite for our minor league baseball team. I've had a suite for the hockey/lacrosse stadium, and I've had a suite for the Bills. And in all of them, I just had food available.
See, I was in a suite for the hockey game here, and you had to buy your own stuff. It wasn't everything wasn't just there, but it was they had a few tickets for a work team, and it was a smaller game. So I don't know if that was the situation.
Yeah, I don't know.
Our college, I was I was in our suites for our college games and stuff, and those had food constantly and drinks.
Well, I mean, I know that whoever pays for my boxes, my suites, pays for there to be food in there, but I've never gone in and hadn't.
Food and bevs and more. That is what's on my ticket, and it's worth $900 per ticket. It says I would imagine I will be able to consistently drink beer and eat food.
Yeah,
until I die.
I would imagine. I can't imagine watching the Bills game and not being able to drink.
Yeah, because when I went to the Yankees game, we didn't have a suite though, but we got a pre-game thing, and I didn't get there early enough for the food and drinks. So then we had to buy everything after. And I was I hope I don't have you have to get there at a certain time to get the free stuff. Because I also would but it says it's included. So I'm sure it's the whole time. I'm sure I've just been in weird situations. That feels more normal than
that feels like you've just had odd situations.
Yeah. And I've already gotten Noelle on call because it's in the MetLife Stadium in Jersey. I was if I can't get back to Manhattan, me and Dom are just going to come stay with you. She was okay.
Can I tell you, about the MetLife Stadium? The last time I was at the MetLife Stadium, I wasn't there actually. I was driving past it, but I was leaving. It was when I left you. When my dad and I had. When my dad and I.
I was going to say the last time, yeah.
Yeah, when my dad and I came to have breakfast with you in New York, when we left you, we drove past MetLife, and that was at noon on a Sunday. There was a Giants game starting at 1. there was no traffic at all outside of MetLife.
Really
And I was like,
weird.
wow, the Giants must be doing that badly that no one
I don't think the
is.
Giants were even like that badly last year. I mean, they weren't
No.
great, but for the Giants, they weren't that bad.
Yeah, I
That's
don't.
weird.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
know.
I mean,
Because
it's a Monday night too, so like
yeah,
I'm gonna be
yeah,
fighting like after work traffic on top of
yeah,
it.
yeah. It's gonna be rough for you. Um,
Yeah,
I I was late to work for a open practice. That's how bad Bill's Stadium gets. My job 25 minutes away from the stadium, and I was 25 minutes late to work because of stadium
yeah.
traffic for a practice.
Well, the people that are Giants and Jets fans are people that were like born and raised here, which is not a ton of people, like
Yeah.
more people than not in the city. And then like people who have moved here from abroad, it seems like my Irish friends are the ones that are like, we're Giants fans. And I'm like, sure. And
Yeah.
like, I also kind of in like category of like, I moved here, but I was like, I need to pick a New York team. And so out of my three options, gonna go with the Bills. Like,
There's only one team in the state of New York.
right, sure. Yes, that is correct also. But I was like, why would I ever pick the like Giants or Jets as my secondary team? Like that's crazy.
Yeah.
So these are people I think that just like want to get in the hype, but there's just like no hype here. We're like it's sad.
Yeah.
You gotta be a hockey fan. Hockey's
No,
fans.
New
They
York
get
is the
hype.
place. Yeah, New York, if you want to
And
be a part of a
Yankees, my
hype,
God.
yeah. But Yankees fans are pretentious. If you want to be part of like an actual hype sport, be a Rangers fan.
Yeah. That'll get you where you need to go.
Yeah. I'm not, but I also
I'm
don't.
not a Rangers fan, but I like don't care about hockey. So
I
like
don't live in the city, so I don't
right,
have to
like
be a Rangers fan.
if I pick a team, it's gonna be the Rangers because Brady Shea, who may not even play for them anymore, I don't even know, but he looks kind of like a Disney prince, and their mascot is a
Mm,
dog, and they got a new dog a few years back. That's really cute.
mm,
So
that's
like
nice.
that's the team I would pick for non-hockey reasons. Um,
I saw a
but
meme
yeah,
speaking of I saw a meme speaking of hockey today that said I miss hockey so much that I bought a sword collection to hang on my wall so I could still watch Sabres do nothing. And I felt it in my soul because it was awful and painful and true.
yeah, that's sad. It is true though. Um, so welcome to our sports podcast.
Right.
This is us until February.
Yep.
Not really. We have The Bachelor coming up too, so we'll also be our Bachelor
That's
podcast. So
true.
that's when next week or the next?
2 weeks.
Is it the 10th or the 20 something?
It's a 20 something. So, because it
Okay.
moved to
The 10th is
Thursdays.
the Masked Singer.
Yes. Wait, is it? I thought the Max Singer was later too. But
So it was supposed to be the 23rd, but then I keep seeing stuff on Hulu that's saying it's the 10th when I'm watching other stuff. And so
oh,
I don't know if they like changed it or if like I don't know.
because I know The Bachelor moved to Thursdays when it comes back at the end of the month.
What is
Um,
that?
there's nothing on TV. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, but still, like it's it's a Monday show. I
Oh
mean,
my
I
God,
can watch it now. It's
season
on
10,
Thursday.
season 10 does premiere tomorrow. It's a Sunday show
See,
now. Mass Singer starts tomorrow.
I
Weird.
look. I have no answers for you.
Weird.
Nothing makes sense in TV land right now.
No, in TV land, nothing makes sense. The Mass Singer starts tomorrow. The Bachelor's on Thursdays now. Big Brother still has 7 weeks left to go. I don't know what's happening.
Ugh, yeah. And to top it all off, this is not related. I started watching the show called Teachers. Well, I've started and finished the show called Teachers.
Mhm.
And it's a sitcom that feels like it was made by comedians, like for comedians. It's one of those type sitcoms.
Yeah.
And I need you to go watch it and tell me that everything is 100% true because they're
Um,
unhinged and it makes me so happy.
sure. I would. I'll maybe one day I'll have time for that.
Yeah, it's on Paramount Plus, so you have to also download that. But
I mean, I have that. I just
oh,
watched
good.
three. I watched 3 episodes of Big Brother today. So,
Oh, true, true. Yeah, you should.
yeah.
I need. It's a sitcom. Like, I just want you to go tell me that every person on there is 100% how teachers are.
Okay.
I think it's like
Yeah.
60% accurate at least, though. Like it's
Oh,
that they are unhinged.
I'm sure. I distinctly remember a time me and two of my friends were hanging out, and one of them was also in school to be a teacher, and the third one said, "I genuinely remember thinking my teachers were the nicest, kindest, innocent people I would ever met when I was a kid, and now my two most wild, fucked up friends are going to be teachers, and so I feel like everything I knew as a child was a lie." And I was like, "It was."
Yeah, probably,
Yeah.
probably. Yeah. So, because everything in life is a lie, um, can you bring us some spiritual guidance to help us find some joy in life?
Sure. I weirdly went with something that is not as far off of what we're talking about as you would think. My quote for
Great.
today is if you don't know where you're going, it really doesn't matter which road you take. Lewis Carroll. That's
100% correct. 100% correct. And how I feel every day. It's fine.
yep.
Um, so after we've had this off the wall conversation to start with, we're gonna just keep it going with this episode of The Exorcist, season 1, episode 9. It is just titled 162.
I meant to look up that number. Like not in with the show, just in general. But I
Oh, to
forgot
see if it
to.
had like other
Other
connotations.
connotations, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I didn't even
Um,
read that was the title of the show until I was like taking my notes later. Like I forgot to look at the title because I'm bad about that. So I don't know if it does or not. I just know what it means in relation to the show.
um, the that I the math in according to Wikipedia, it is an important in math, but it doesn't what it's describing makes no fucking sense to me.
Great.
In religion, it is the age that Jared was when he gave birth to Enoch. Or well, he didn't give birth; he became a father.
Sure.
He did not. But more importantly, and I think most importantly, really, it is the number of regular season games in a Major League Baseball season. That
Well, just keep the sports facts going. Just
that's
keep
all I
going.
got for that number.
I love it. I love it. Yeah. I have no idea if it like actually has relation outside of the show, but we'll get to that. What it does mean in the show. So this aired December 9th, 2016, which means we're getting like a close to Christmas finale, which is going to be fun, I'm sure. It is rated 8.5 out of 10, which is fine. I don't feel like it was as like intense as some of the other episodes we've seen, but it wasn't a bad episode.
I I disagree,
Okay.
but I think that on the one hand, it fell into the predictable,
Mm,
everything has to fall to shit in the ninth episode kind of jam. But
yeah.
also, I gasped and grabbed Dan's leg at least 7 times.
I
Like
mean, there
for
was plenty of there were plenty of things
like
that happened. Yes.
like the thing was I was like, I know what's gonna happen, and then it happened and I still freaked out. Like the entire and I think that like that's why it was rated where it was, because it wasn't necessarily that it was shocking. It was just that the way they did
Yeah.
it was just
Yeah. And if I
the
like
whole time.
were to lower it at all, I wouldn't go below like 8.3. Like it's not like I would change
Yeah.
it that much if I were to.
Yeah.
So it was I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah.
The number one song was Black Beatles by Ray featuring Gucci Mane. I don't know how to
Hmm.
say their last name, but you know the one. They got really
Shmurda?
popular.
Isn't it Shmurda? Is that who it is?
I don't
Or
know.
am
It's
I?
SRUMMURD. And that doesn't follow my language patterns. So I can't tell you how to pronounce it.
Yeah, I don't know. I
But yeah,
also
I don't know.
definitely know that I remember that song being popular. I don't know that song at all.
It's the one. It says a lot about years. It has a lot of quotes about years.
Great.
I couldn't tell you to save my life today, but I remember when it got popular, and I didn't understand why they kept calling it Black Beatles. And then I realized that was the title of the song and not the band. I had a whole lot of confusion about this song, which is the only reason that I like even remember.
Which is
It's like,
probably why I don't remember it, because I didn't have that confusion and it wasn't that good.
yeah, and the title does not like mesh
Have
with the
anything to do with this
lyrics. Like,
song.
yeah. So
Great.
as far as
Cool.
I am concerned about it, but in better news, the number one movie if you remember, December of 2016
I really don't.
was Moana.
Oh, I do. Actually, no, that does check out because fall of 2016 was the year that I was in college at the same time as my brother. So I was always with my brother
Mm.
and his friends. That was that year. And so, like, George and Sierra and I all went to see Moana together.
Yeah,
That makes
I
sense.
loved Moana. And I got my parents bought me the CD for Christmas that year. That's how I remember it being such a big deal in December.
Oh,
Um, Great CD and movie.
yeah.
Um, and the number one book was Cross the Line by James Patterson, which we're just gonna jump around to different like back and forth between James Patterson and I've already forgotten the other guy, but like the other big crime writer. I feel like that's all we've done this year is jump back and forth between them.
Is it Dan
Um,
Brown? Is he the other one? Or Tom
Dan Brown
Clancy?
was on one of we didn't have as much Tom Clancy this year, but Dan
Okay.
Brown was a couple of them, and then there's the other guy that my dad read a lot,
Oh,
but I've
right. Oh,
forgotten his
shit. Who
name.
was that? Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's who we've jumped around with this year. Just this like crew of people. Um, on this day, some weird things happened. This is when we learned of doping in Russia, and so like the U.S. was like they can't play in our sports if they're gonna do
Yeah.
drugs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
The oldest known tumor was found in a fossil. It was like
great.
255, some odd number years old. Um, and it was Kirk Douglas's 100th birthday. So
Great.
good times, interesting
Good.
things for today.
Good times.
Really brings you back. Um, the director is Bill Johnson. He's known for The West Wing, Justified, Mystery Science 3000, and Something Wild.
Okay.
Um, the new writer is Franklin Jinro, known for the 2009 Swamp Thing, um, Pachinko, and A Distant Shore. And our editor is Janet Weinberg, who we've already spoken about. She's done a couple of episodes.
Yeah.
And then our star this week that we're going to talk about is Deanna Dunnigan, who plays Mother Bernadette. I know it had to be done. Um, she is known for The Visit. The second thing that was listed that she's known for is the 60-second Tony Awards because she
Yes,
won an award
because
that year.
yes, because remember the first episode that Mother Bernadette was on, I went off on a weird tangent about how I knew her face, but it was because of the thing that she was in the Tonys when she won the Tony.
Yep. Yep. But like, I don't know why that was listed as her second credit
Because
because
she did more theater than she ever did film and TV.
she did do a lot more theater. That just felt like a weird credit. Like she didn't host it or anything.
No, she just
Um,
had a great speech.
yeah. And then Stillwater, she's also known for. And then her most recent thing, which I didn't realize makes me want to watch it more, is Asteroid City that just came out. That indie film
Okay.
that just came out. Which
Yeah.
I actually did hear good things about. I just never
Was
saw it.
was she the grandma in The Visit?
I don't
Or
know.
the
I didn't write down who she was in The Visit. She was a waitress on Asteroid City. I wrote down who she was in Asteroid City.
Because isn't The Visit the one where the kids go to their grandparents' house and then it's like the
I think so, but
creepy.
I haven't seen it.
I haven't either, but I remember the commercials gave me very much like the witch and Hansel and Gretel vibes, and
Mm.
it was like the grandma. Yeah, and they welcome by
I
their
was gonna say I
nana.
bet she
Yep,
was.
yeah, she was. Their nana and Pop Pop all seems well, and so they start doing weird things. And like at one point, she tried to put them in an oven in the commercial, and I was like, oh,
Great.
her face creeped me the fuck out in those commercials.
I feel that feels vaguely familiar to me. And I do feel like it also creeped me out. Um, yeah, and as we said, she's mostly known for theater. The Steppenwolf Theater Company in Chicago is her like home theater. She's been nominated for like multiple awards throughout Chicago theater world, and she was awarded Best Actress, a Tony for the Best Actress for Violet in August Osage County. I can't say words. I know all of these words. I just can't say them. Um, but yeah, so yeah, much more prominent in the theater world. But also a good actress. So good for her. We love her.
Yeah.
Um, so on that note, here we go. So we start with the coroner taking Chris away. Everyone's just kind of like watching out. And then we go inside. The family's giving their statement about what happened. Both, and Angela, well, mostly Angela's giving her statement. She's like, "This happened, blah blah blah." Like, I had no idea. I walked in, I found her this way. And he's like, "What was your relationship with your mother?" And she's like, "I loved her." And both Henry and Kat just like gave her this look of like, "I'm sorry, what?"
So what?
Like, I don't think you understand. But unfortunately, the police guy touches her hand to like hand her something, or she hands him something. I don't know. I don't remember the exact
Yeah, I
connotation.
don't remember who
But
was handing who something, but there was
right,
a
there was a handoff, and when they touched, his demon recognized her demon. So
and
that's great
didn't we
news.
see, and in that moment we saw the actual like handoff of Pazuzu to Angela, right?
Yeah. So that's where we're. Yeah. So after he sees the demon in her, we get the flashback to Casey's exorcism, and we see that Angela, like when we saw in the last episode where he was going to turn Angela, like, or turn Casey's head to like break her neck, and Angela jumps in to like save her. And what we didn't see was that she leaned in and she said for him to take her instead. And that's when the demon entered her. So we go back to present day, and the police guy is just like, "Stop all the questioning. We've taken up too much time," because he realizes his like boss demon is an Angela now. And he's
Mm-hmm.
like, "All these people on your lawn, we're gonna get them off your lawn. Like, we're gonna clear everything up. This has been too much for you already." And everybody's confused, obviously. The other police guy's like,
Yeah.
"I have a few more questions." Like,
He's like,
"Nope, we're
I
done."
nope, yep,
And
no.
Henry and Kat are confused, and they're like, "Sorry for taking your time," and they go to leave. And then Angela's just like, "Well, let's go pick up your sister." Like,
She
so
said
matter of
it
factly.
so no, not matter of factly, cheerily. She was like, "Let's
Surely,
go get
yeah.
Casey," and I was like, "Bitch, no." If
Yeah,
I
it
was if I
was,
if I was Cat, I would have left then and never come back.
yeah. Like, if it felt like she was like going to pick her up from a summer camp. Like, it didn't feel
It was
like her mom had just
so
died and they just done exorcism on her daughter. Like, it
yeah, it
was,
was
yeah.
it was wrong on so many levels.
Yeah. And that's where we get the credits. So, yay.
And
Um,
Dan tried to avoid watching the show with me yesterday, and he washed dishes. But then from the kitchen, he just goes, "The theme song really is too cheery for this show." And I go, "Even when you're not in the room, you're still paying attention."
yeah, yeah. And also, like, watch a few more horror shows, because there's a lot of cheery theme songs for horror shows. Pretty
He won't.
common theme here.
He won't unless I continue to force him.
We're gonna second it. Like, he's here
He
now.
like he's invested, but he hates it. Like he's uncomfortable. It's not like a
Give it
it's not like
time.
me where I'm like I say I hate it, but I really don't. He genuinely hates it.
You give it time. You get used to it. It grows on you. It possesses you, if I may. So we're bringing Casey home, and we bring her inside, and I don't know when this phrase was said now, but somebody at one point said, "God will not forget." This is why I
Oh,
can't take my notes too many
it
days before.
it was written.
So I forget everything.
There was a picture of one of the missing posters of
Oh,
Casey
right,
was on
right.
the ground outside the house.
That's right. Yeah, so she saw it and said, "God will not forget," and like everything's like X'd out or whatever. And they get her inside, and then Kat's like, "You can just share my room until we move," because obviously Casey's room has a lot going on. And
So
they get inside, and all that's left outside is Angela. And we turn around to see like three dogs growling at her. And when she looks at them, they like get quiet. And we are back to the rampant dogs running the roads and acting weird that we had earlier in the
yeah,
season.
Super
So
cute.
that's good.
My
Yeah, yeah.
favorite.
So we go to Marcus and Cherry and Lester, our trio of besties, and they're just discussing Father Bennett, and they're like, we could get a hold of him. They start discussing all the others that were included in this like weird dinner party situation, and they learn he sees a picture of Brother Simon, and he realizes that he's been watching him. He was watching him at St. Aquinas, which we knew from when Tomas
Yeah.
met him, but he realized he was watching him there, and he's been like keeping tabs on him and all this stuff. And then they start discussing how Maria's bankrolling everything, which is correct. And it's just like all the pieces are kind of finally starting to come together for them that we already knew the answers to. So, welcome to our club of knowledge. And
Is
then,
this when Marcus says that if they have Bennett and they torture him for information, they have to assume that he knows about Tomas and about
everything.
Mother Bernadette and about them and everything.
Yep. And he tells them to leave. And they're like, what about you? And he's like, yeah, you guys just leave.
Just,
Like, no question. And
yeah.
so then we go to the Rance house, and they're having this lovely dinner, it seems. Father Tomas has come by because he's part of the family now. And
Obviously.
they're talking about like they were like we tried to invite Marcus, but he was busy, he couldn't come, saving the world and whatnot. And
Right.
then they're like, she's like, all right, dig in. Everybody's like, oh, let's say our prayer first. And she just like ignores the prayer basically. She like starts eating and like staring at them. I'm like, be a little less obvious. Like you haven't done a terrible job of like acting like Angela up until now. I mean, you've had like weird moments, but nothing that makes you say like, oh, she's just in a weird headspace because her child was just exorcised and her mom just died. Like those are things you could overlook, but it's like this doesn't even make sense to be this way.
Yeah, but you know what? This scene has convinced me of something. I used to always think like, which is better? When you're like gonna pray before dinner, do you hold hands with everybody at the table or do you just pray in your own hands? Because like cool, like you're touching other people's hands, clean hands before you eat, whatever. But if you hold hands with everybody and you're saying the prayer, then you're touching them. And if there's a fucking demon possessing someone in your family, you know.
Yeah,
So I now will advocate for holding hands during prayer always.
I like it. I'll back you. I'll back you. That's the only way to know.
I don't,
Um,
how else would I know if my mom was a demon?
there's no way to know. There's no way to know. Yeah,
Yeah.
no,
So,
absolutely, especially with like integration. So
oh,
the best move. And at the end of the prayer, they're talking about leaving, and Angela's just like, I think we should stay. And they're like, no,
I
no,
think we
things have
should
been,
not.
yeah, they're like, things have been terrible. Maybe we should not stay here.
They're
And
like, and Kat's like, yeah, in the house where my grandma just died.
yeah, and like Angela's so out of character happy, like which we already mentioned in the first scene. And like
Yeah.
she goes to give a toast and she's like a toast to like Casey and family and like Tomas or whatever. And then she like it's like cheers and Kat goes, yeah, and to Chris who just died. Like she's like, sure. And Angela just like blows it off, like doesn't even care. So they have their weird family. We're really good at weird family dinners and horror shows because it takes me back to like when we had Caleb over at family dinner and it was
Oh yeah. Well, and then
all the whole family.
and there was so many awkward family dinners in Hemlock Grove.
Yeah, that's because there were so many weird family connections in my Grove.
Like
I could never figure out where anybody went. There were so many of them.
so many.
Yeah. So then we go to Tomas, who's out talking to Henry again because they're the only two people in the world who can seem to piece together things together.
Right.
But they're talking about Henry's.
Oh, he's thanking Henry and how saying that God spoke through Henry by telling him to
Yeah.
go to St. Aquinas. And
Oh, that's what that
Henry,
says. I could not read what this word said about Henry.
And
Yeah,
Henry's
so he
talking
like,
about how like some days he feels like his brain is normal again, and some days he feels like he
mhm.
can't piece together a single sentence.
Yeah, and he's telling him how like he's like, you're the reason I even found Marcus. He's like, you were the one who first told me about Saint Aquinas. And he's like, it's like God's been speaking through you, like it's, this is crazy, but
Hmm.
it's great. So like he's like, I know things are, going well or whatever. And then Angela just like casually walks in all dressed up, and they're like, where are you going? And she's like, going to the hotel, work doesn't stop, like gotta go, they can't do it without me. And it's like, okay, your mom just died, but fine.
But
um
here's also, yes, yes, but the hotel is in fact where the Pope is supposed to be staying when he comes in, and he's
yeah,
coming tomorrow or like the day after, like in 2 days.
yeah,
So if she was actually like, even if she was actually genuinely working, it's not unreasonable that things could come up that she would need to be at the hotel at that time. Maybe
sure,
not dressed quite as scantily as she was then,
yeah,
and maybe not with so much joy on your face after your mother just fell down your stairs. But I can imagine being in a position where even through depression you have to work because you're about to
sure,
host the Pope.
sure. um but she just wasn't in the right
Oh
headspace.
no.
She was not
No.
reacting well. Oh, so this is where Tomas told Henry about Saint Aquinas message, and that's where they're getting into like what are the things he's hearing. And he said apparently this whole time he's been having this like low frequency in the back of his head. And he's like, and a lot of times it just feels like there's a ton of voices in the room
And
saying all different
yeah.
things. He's like, but sometimes they all come together and say the same thing. And he pulls out this notepad, and it's just like different patterns that say like 162 over all over the
He
page.
wrote the number like a million times.
Yeah. And he's like, oh, okay. And so they take note and move forward. And we go back to Lester and Cherry, and they're on a mission photographing Simon and police and Maria all being like super shifty, and Lester's like, we got to get out of here. He's like, we can't be here, like this isn't gonna go well.
Well, because no,
And
he the reason he says that is because he gets a picture of Simon's extra
the,
eye,
yeah,
and he's like, we gotta go. We're gonna die. We are gonna
yeah,
die. Mm.
yeah. And then we join the crew, and it turns out they are talking about they're getting the Pope and all of this, and like that they're finalizing their plans, when lo and behold, Angela shows up. Surprise, surprise. Um, and Simon is still trying to be in charge, even though that's not the case anymore. Angela's demon is clearly the like head demon.
Yeah.
And so he's like, I still want like he's like kind of being a baby about it. He's
Well,
like,
but first,
I should still get credit. I did all of this and all of this stuff. And she's like, absolutely not.
my favorite was that he was like, my favorite was that so the cop was like, "Oh yeah, we're being joined by someone who's new to town." And Maria, because Maria doesn't have a demon inside of her, she was like, "Angela Rance."
Yeah.
And Simon just goes, "No, Suzu." And like trying,
Yeah.
I get it, but like trying to say that with a straight face and like in
I know.
reverence is I can't.
It's a crazy name, but it's also like historically the like one of the top demons in the like
Yeah.
hierarchy. So it's
Yeah.
like the scariest one. And so yes, and like anything Simon says, like the way he says stuff just like doesn't help it, because he has a very like theatrical way of saying anything.
Correct.
And but he's trying to like, still take the glory, be like, look, I planned all of these things, I did all of this, this was me, this was
Yeah,
my
he's like
people.
this.
And Angela's great, and starts like knocking everyone out. I assume they're dead. We didn't actually see their
No,
occurrence.
no, no,
No, they just
no.
knocked out.
No, she didn't even knock them out. She had them bow on the ground. She like made them
Oh,
all
I
lay.
thought.
She made them all lay prostrate on the ground to like worship her. And then Simon was not trying to do it, and so then she got him on his knees, and then she was like, "No, lower," and that's why she was standing on his head.
Yes, I knew she made him do that, but I thought she knocked them out and
No,
then was like, I
she made all
can't.
of the demons bow to her.
When I watch this on my phone, it's so dark that I can't always see what's happening. I'm like,
Mm.
what is happening?
Yeah, no,
But that
she
makes
was.
way more sense. And so she makes him kiss her foot and like just stay there while she's like talking to people. And then she calls out Maria next, and she's like, "Oh, do you want me to do this too?" And she's like, "No, no, this is different." She's like, "Here's the thing, you're never gonna be a demon." She's like, "It's your smell, your desperation, and you want it too badly. It's not gonna happen."
She, she was like, she literally basically, it was like the ancient demon equivalent of you're a pick me girl and no one will ever love you.
Yes, yes, 100%, 100%. Um, and then she tells them that they're gonna send a message to the nuns.
Oh, which the way that the phrasing of it was fantastic word choice. Also, the most awful thing anyone has ever said.
Yeah, there was a lot of that this episode. They had like really succinct and like perfect phrases that were
Yeah,
used.
she called the sisters of at Saint Bernard or at with Mother Bernadette, she called them sanctimonious whores. I was
Yeah,
like, I am offended and impressed.
right, right. Yeah, it's not great. So we go to the church, which we learn eventually is Saint Bridget's, and he's talking with the bishop.
Bishop Egan and Father
Egan,
Tomas.
yeah, and they're talking about the Pope's arrival and all this stuff, and he's like, this will be great, and he's like, also, we want to like offer you St. Bridget's. And it's like everything he's worked to go for. And
Mhm.
he's like, but what's going to happen to the people of St. Anthony's? Because it's like a rundown town. It's like lower income. And they're like, oh, don't worry. We're just closing St. Anthony's like full force. And he's like, I don't think that's a great idea. He's like, I think we need a
And
church there still.
unfortunate message to Father Tomas as someone who works with the Catholic Church in the real world. If the bishop tells you that they're consolidating a parish and it isn't existing anymore because it financially can't, and they're just gonna absorb those parishioners into another church, saying, "But I don't wanna," doesn't change it.
Right. It doesn't actually
By
work.
the time the bishop tells you that, it's already a thing. Like that's not.
Yeah. Yeah, which is like the next thing he talks about. He's like, I can't accept this position. Like, he's like, I have to tell you a secret. I've sinned. And he's like, yeah. No, I
He's like,
know
no, I
all of
already know.
this.
The husband came to me.
Yeah,
Get rid of the wife. Get rid of her. It's fine. But
right.
also, we're closing St. Anthony's either way.
Yeah, he's like, we've had this in the works for months now. Like, it's too late to like go back. He's like, we'll figure all that out. Like, we've dealt with worse things. Yeah, you have.
Yeah,
And
you have.
so he's like, just like he was like, we're gonna take care of the husband. We're gonna make it sound like we've done our duty. He's like, you take care of the wife. Okay. So then Tomas goes into his office space and Marcus is there. And he like still cannot grasp that Maria is a bad person. Like
He's
Marcus
like,
is like, she's like a good friend of the church. And he's like, yeah, she's great. She's doing all these great things. I'm like, no, she sucks. She's so bad.
yeah,
But it's
Marcus is
okay.
literally like, oh, I see that you've been working with the fucking she-wolf.
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't understand why you hate her.
Tomas is like so naive, bless his heart. And it's
Yeah.
like, I get he wants to see the best in people. And he's like a younger priest, so he hasn't seen as much bad in people as some other people like Marcus. But
Right. But like also he didn't hasn't noticed at all that Angela's acting a little funky and weird this whole
that's like
time.
his bestie. Yeah, no, he should
Yeah.
know.
Because he's so preoccupied with his own bullshit because he can't keep his dick in his pants. And like
Yeah, Ugh, Tomas, Tomas, Tomas. Bless your heart. And then Marcus gets a text from Cherry that just says, meet us at home ASAP. So we go to the Rant's house next, and Casey is looking rough still. Bless her. She is like slow recovery, which like is to be
Yeah.
expected. Physically, mentally, she is just run
Oh,
down.
yeah.
She's like hanging out on the computer because her and Kat are sharing a room, and Kat's trying to like brighten her up. And she's like, do you remember this dress? And she's like, why don't you wear this dress? And she's like, it's, I know like things suck, but we have to like, let's do some stuff to kind of like help move out of that. She's like,
And
I
yeah,
was in
and
the same position with
she was like,
everyone.
after the accident, everybody like treated me so weird and like walked on eggshells with me, and it didn't help. It made things worse. So like, I'm trying to like not put you in that
Not do that.
position.
Right. Yeah. And then she like goes over and like Casey just like closes the laptop and Kat pulls it out and we see that she's been reading about the paramedics. And she's like, they've all had families, like all this stuff happened. And she's like, and while even though I couldn't remember everything that happened in my body, like these particular things, he made me watch my body killing these people.
Yeah.
And I was like, that is the darkest thing in the world. Like, ugh, poor Casey. Truly don't know how she's as stable as she is. And like she doesn't seem like super stable, but like
But
much
she
better than I
doesn't,
would have expected.
she seems like genuinely remorseful and guilty instead of like
Mm-hmm.
traumatized, which is
Right.
a weird, weird sensation.
Yeah. And so we go to Marcus, who's arrived back home, and Cherry and Lester are both dead. And he
I
starts reading them last rites and putting a protection like prayer over the rest of the people he knows, I guess. Like it was
I literally yelled. I was like, no, Cherry and Lester are dead. And Dan goes, who? And I was like,
what do you mean
stop.
who? Yeah,
I
when we
did not
walked
take that
in,
well at all. That I was still living in this fantasy world where I was going to have my Scooby-Doo gang, and I did
yeah.
not take that well at all.
Yeah, well, we knew they didn't leave. And so I expected it not to go well, but I didn't know. But like the minute we walked in, I was like, here we go. Like this is the beginning of the end. We've made it.
Yeah. And I
So
knew, like, as soon as that happened, I go, well, it's episode 9. Everything has to fall apart. And boy, is it going to. But oh, I'm so
yeah.
sad. I was so sad about that.
Yeah. And speaking of, the next thing we do is go see the nuns. And Angela has dropped by with snacks. And she's like, I want to like thank you. And like, I never told you how much I appreciated what you did. And then she's like, but you wavered a bit. Like you didn't hold like tight the whole time. You were like thinking other things. And the nun, who is in her vow of silence at this moment, immediately realizes it is unfortunately not Angela. It is
I
indeed
I think
the
she knew
demon.
the whole time though.
No, I think she did too, but I think she was trying to like play it off to see like if it was going to be like the demon or if it was like Angela, like the demon just trying to
Yeah.
pretend to be Angela to like hold face or whatever. Um,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, my laptop's getting ready today. Uh, but yeah, so the nun is supposed to be in her vow of silence. Instead, she's like, I have to go get my cord. So like, just stare at my wall for a second. You may have to
Beautiful. It's fine.
cut
It's
this. I'm
lovely.
sorry. I thought I had
So
it charged up enough, but apparently I did not.
it
Um,
happens.
Jesus, where's
But so, oh, Mother Bernadette starts talking about how she could smell her as soon as she walked in the room.
mm-hmm.
And um, Pazuzu is being a little dickhead about her lack of faith.
Yeah. Yeah, so she's speaking and she's like, I know it's you. I knew it was you the whole time. Like, I should have killed you when I had the chance. And alas, he kills her.
That
And
was
she just starts choking, bones
awful.
breaking. It was bad.
It was
And
awful.
Angela slash the demon sit there and just like snack while they're letting her die. Yeah, it was
It was
very
not,
unpleasant. Yeah, not
I
cute.
was not having a good time with that.
Yeah. And it's just like it's off the rails from here. Like it doesn't get better.
Like
Um,
no, Cherry and Lester died, and we were like, oh God, it's the beginning of the end. And then every second from here to the rest of the entire show was uncalled for.
yeah, yeah, it was bad. So we go to Casey, who is in her room and looking at the chains and just like kind of remembering everything that or like remembering what she can that happened. And
Yeah.
Angela walks in and is being super weird, obviously.
Yeah.
And Casey tells her, she's like, I felt like nothing inside of me was me anymore, which is like the saddest thing I could ever imagine.
Yeah.
Um, and she's like, I just felt like I wasn't in control of anything. And Angela's like, no, I know that's part of it, but it's also like you're empty now because you fell in love with the demon while they're inside of you. And she's like, look, I totally get it. We went through the same thing. You fall in love with the demon when it's gone, you're empty, and like nobody ever adds up again. I'm like, that is so not the right thing.
And so not how Casey feels. You can see on her face that she is
Yeah, she absolutely does not feel that way.
concerned,
And
beyond
and
concerned.
right, and Angela's telling her, she's like, and I know there's like on a level, like you asked for it, like so you know what you were getting into. It's like you don't blame your daughter for being possessed by a demon. Like obviously it's not
No, obviously
love,
it's not
but
her. Yeah.
still. And Kat walks in looking for her art books, and thankfully kind of disturbs things, like disrupts what's going on.
Yeah.
And Angela like turns to look at her and he's like, oh my gosh, are you bleeding? And she's like, no, I'm fine. So like Angela's just like bleeding for no reason. Cool. So
When that with that, I couldn't tell if it was actually her bleeding or just blood spatter from the massacre that just occurred.
I didn't even think about that. I bet that's what it was. I bet it was the massacre blood.
Which is why she was
Um,
unfazed by it, because of course it was just one of those poor nuns' bloods, and so who cares?
right. Yeah, and speaking of, Marcus goes to see the nuns and finds them dead. So that's not good.
No.
And then we have a brief jump over to like the
But also, I
pre-party
will
night.
say,
Yeah.
before we go leave the nuns, I will say I would like to thank them because Dan and I were so scared they were actually going to show the inside of the chapel.
Oh, yeah.
I
Yeah.
was so grateful. Like, there's enough blood and gore in the show as it is. You already knew what happened just by the hand in the pool of blood. And I know that part of it has to do with the ratings of it being a network TV show, but I was so grateful in that moment that they did not actually show what Marcus saw because I would have been
Yeah.
sick.
Yeah, because it would have been unnecessary. And I think
Yeah,
we got the same
the
thing
point
across. So
you already felt everything. You didn't need to see it because that's my problem
yeah.
with gore in general. Is that if I don't need to see it to get the point across, I don't want to see it. And
I agree.
sometimes you have to like the actual like Mother Bernadette choking and like her squeezing her head like that and the neck snapping of the kids when
Mhm.
they were possessed. It's a lot, but it is necessary for the
Yeah.
moment. This would not have been necessary.
Well, it's like, and we saw the death of that first household before they like the people that were taking all the organs. And
Yeah,
but we didn't see the rest of the people that were killed. Like we didn't need to see all of that because we saw the one house and we just know that it like transferred
exactly.
over these other
Yeah,
ones.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I feel like that's actually one thing that the show's done like a really good job of is not
Yeah.
being like, even though it's had obviously a lot of like gross and like very visual scenes with like the demon and whatnot and like bodily
It
fluids from the
has been
demon.
it has been
It's not
better about
Yeah, it hasn't been gratuitous for what it's worth. Like,
That's the word I was
yeah,
looking for. I blanked because I couldn't think of the word I wanted.
yeah. So it's actually done a very good job of that. Um, yeah. So we're at this party the night before the Pope gets there with the dinner party of demons. Um, and Tomas is there, and they're like the bishop is like showing Tomas around. He's introducing to people, and then he like meets this woman we've never met before. And then Maria gives a speech because she's in charge of everything all the time because she's the rich person.
Yeah.
And then we jump back to Henry and Angela. And Angela's like getting ready to leave, and Henry is like also just kind of like hanging out with her. And he's like, I know you don't want to talk about this, but we really should talk about like funeral stuff. Like, is that something like he's like, are you ready for that or whatever? And instead she just like is like, when was the last time you've touched me? She's like, just like goes straight into like seducing him. And I'm like, these are not the same. Like, this
No.
is very strange.
Yeah.
Um, and it turns out it's been a while, which is not shocking because they've both been through a lot. And
Yeah.
so then she starts like
Yeah, like
choking him.
God forbid he decide to have sex with you while he's still unable to put a sentence together. Like
Right,
he's in the
right.
middle of brain trauma.
Yeah. And but instead she just starts like strangling him, and he's like reasonably concerned. It's like past the point of her like trying to be Kiki of sorts. She's like, and she's got this demented demonic look on her face of like joy, like strangling the life out of him.
When I
It's
tell you, so Cherry and Lester died. We had
yeah.
less than 5 minutes of screen time before Mother Bernadette died. And now, less than 5 minutes of screen time later, she is choking Henry. I
Mm-hmm.
was unwell. I
I
was,
yeah.
I was like, are you fucking kidding me? I was like convulsing. And Dan was like, are you okay? I was like, he's gonna die. I can't take it.
Yeah, I really thought he was gonna die in this moment too, and I was like not prepared for it. So
No,
I'm still holding on to the hope that he survives in the end. That the
me
family just
too.
leaves.
Yeah.
So I was not well watching the scene.
Yeah, no,
And
not at
then
all. Well,
she just walks away. Like nothing happened. And I was like, okay, Demon
okay.
Angela, that's fine.
It's fine.
Um,
We're all fine,
and then
I
we
think.
have more preparations where Marcus is like watching from the shadows, where these people are like with the crazy demonic people. And then we go to Casey, and this poor girl has been through more than any one person, than any 10 people really should be through in their lifetime. Like, bless her
Right.
heart. She apparently was sleeping on the couch and decided it wasn't very comfortable. So she was going to go upstairs and like join Kat. And, she's like having a stressful time. So she wants to go like sleep with her sister and feel
Yeah.
comfort. And instead, when she looks through the door, she sees Angela touching Kat inappropriately, and which is very uncomfortable for everyone involved. And then
Yeah,
she like turns
particularly me.
around, right, right, particularly us as viewers. Um, but then she like turns around and she like clears her throat before she goes inside to like distract Angela from whatever's happening.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Oh, what are you doing? Why aren't you asleep?" And she's like, "I just wasn't comfortable on the couch, so I'm gonna stay here." So she like gets into bed with Kat, like knowing something's wrong. But she's like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna just be here so she's not alone now. Like now I have two reasons to be
Right.
here. Um, and then we go back to Tomas, who is now he's like bought into he's taking over St. Bridget's, fine, whatever. And he's like
Yeah.
negotiating terms. So he's like, here's the thing. He's like, I want my people to go with me, which like
Mm-hmm.
kudos, good on you. And then he's like, and
Yeah.
I want there to be buses from St. Anthony's that will bring the people that can't make it out there. And of course, I'm sure we don't hear the other side of the conversation, but I'm sure it has something to do with being a low income town versus not. And he's like, I don't care that it's low income. He's like, I think it's good for these people to be integrated and they need to
Yeah.
spend time together. So,
Yeah. He was
um,
like, fuck you, the rich people. Eat the
yeah,
rich. Or
right. He's
something
like, if
like
we're gonna do
that.
this, or something like that. He's like, if we're gonna do this, these are my terms. This is the way I want things to go. Which also isn't like you don't get a ton of saying that, but like, fine, good for trying. We'll see what
Yeah.
happens.
Well, especially
Um,
because, like, especially it's not like they're moving him and his church is just getting a new pastor. His church isn't
yeah,
going to have a pastor. And so a lot of these people, especially if they're low income, are going to need to be bused somewhere anyway. So why
yeah.
not bus them to him?
Mhm.
Sounds fine to me.
Yep. Sounds good to me too. And then Jessica walks in. Bless him. Bless him. So then we go to Simon, who is just a character. He's dancing around, drinking champagne, and has the best looking charcuterie boards. I don't know if you noticed.
Oh no,
But
I did notice.
I wanted all of the things he was eating and drinking.
Yeah.
Um,
I also wanted his bathrobe.
yes, yeah, he looks so cozy and like great view. It was a good place to be if you weren't a demon.
Well, I
Um,
mean, but like, of course, the demon was living lavishly. Like, why wouldn't
sure,
that be where we're at?
right, yeah. So Marcus shows up and Simon opens the door and he immediately like beats him down and he tells him to stay down while he goes to the bathroom and starts some water and like starts putting like purification stuff in it, salts and stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, holy water.
Holy water. I
He
thought he had like minerals and stuff too. It looked like I don't know.
he probably did, but
So yeah, but holy water for sure. Yeah,
yeah.
and so then he's like talking to Simon. He brings him in there and he's like, "What happened? Like all of these things." And Simon starts telling him. He's like, "Well, I didn't kill them." He's like, "Who led them to the place that got them killed?" He's like, "You killed them." Marcus doesn't handle that well, obviously, as
No,
no one
Marcus.
should.
Well, because it's not correct, but also Marcus is not known for not taking things personally.
Right, right, yeah, and reacting strongly. He doesn't hold back his feelings. Um,
No.
so we go to Tomas and Jessica, hopefully for the last time, and
It
Tomas
sounded like
says,
it, so at least that was
"I'll believe,
good.
I'll believe it when I see it."
Oh
Um,
yeah.
Tomas says he doesn't deserve this place. And she's like, "Oh, you're going to St. Bridget." He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "I don't deserve it though. And I'm just tired. I'm tired of, pretending that I haven't sinned. I'm tired of like doing all this stuff and not being good enough, essentially."
Yeah.
And then Jessica starts talking about the life they could have. And I'm like, why are you the way that you are? Like, that is not the way to go. Like, it only makes things worse. It only makes things harder. But then
Even
she's like,
I'm gonna be honest, when she was like talking about making him coffee and him like going like whatever she said to him, even Dan audibly groaned.
yeah, yeah, because it was insane. And he's like, um, where was that? Oh, and he's like, you deserve better, like you do. And she's like, I seduced a priest. What do I deserve? And I was like, exactly. At least you know you were
A
wrong. Like,
swift kick in the ass is what you
yeah,
deserve.
exactly. And then she tells him not to write her anymore. And I'm like, why have you not used your brain until today? And like, you're saying all the right things. It's too
She
late.
doesn't tell him not to write her because it would be bad. She
Yeah.
tells him not to write her so that because it would be too
Be
hard to have to
hard.
like
Yeah.
hear from him. So she's not doing this for him and him getting what he deserves in life. She's doing it for herself because she's selfish and knows that she
Mm-hmm.
can't stop talking to him.
Yeah. So, alas. So hopefully that's the end of that. So we go to Marcus and he's like, "Did you kill Cherry and Luster? Like, did you kill the nuns? What happened?" And Simon's like, I'll take the rap for Cherry. And Luster, he was like, "But Angela killed the nuns." And Marcus says that they're like he doesn't want to just sit around while they like kill the Pope or whatever. And he's like been burning his face and trying to get him to talk and all this stuff when suddenly these other like greased groupies walk in and just start beating up Marcus like out of nowhere.
And then
So
fucking asshole Simon is like, please be a dear and get me a towel.
I hate this guy. I've hated
I
this guy from the beginning.
Same.
Yeah. So we go to Casey and she goes, this this scene is not funny. Let me start there. But when we start and she's like just sitting in front of Henry, like getting him to wake up, it made me think of when a 3-year-old child goes and sits in front of their parents and stares at them creepily until they wake up
Yes.
suddenly. And
Right.
that's what I thought. But Henry did not overreact, which is for the best.
Yeah.
And she gets him and goes downstairs and grabs Kat. And they're like, we all need to leave before Angela like sees that we've woken up and left because something's wrong. And she's like, I felt it. Like I know he's there. And
Mm-hmm.
he's just like, and bless Henry, he's like, yep, I believe you. Let's do it. Let's go.
Because
But
he
unfortunately,
looks to Kat first, and Kat is like, after everything,
yeah,
I believe her.
yeah. And she was like, uh this may have been after Angela came down. So then Angela wakes up and comes down and is like sitting them all down. And she's like, let's talk about this. Let's do this differently. We're not gonna like, no one's like getting out. And she's like, we're gonna be a happy family who lives fine, but you have to be punished. And then Kat comes out and says that she knows about the 3 pupils on her eye and like stuff like
Yeah.
that. And she starts saying, this is where she explains that they've integrated, which is what we were concerned with Casey, and it didn't happen. And she explains that it was integration because she invited him in, which we
Mm-hmm.
learned at the beginning of this episode.
Which I knew as soon as it showed that she asked him to come
Invited, yeah,
in, I was like, fuck.
yeah, and also just like you could tell how like
Oh, how she was acting
clearly the
made
lines,
no goddamn sense. Yeah.
yeah, like the lines were blurred too much, whereas like you see when they're possessed, like they are still trying to fight back and you can still see that, but like in
Mm-hmm.
integration, like they become this demon essentially.
Yeah.
And so she's telling them somebody has to be punished. And so she starts like choking Casey, and then she like knocks Henry over and is like hurting him. And then she gives this whole long speech about God being bored. And that's why everything came about. Like it was,
Well, it's interesting because it's rooted in a lot of the theories about fallen angels and like the Nephilim
mm-hmm,
and things like that, and the idea that like God made angels and everything was perfect, and then he made man, and then man and then Lucifer created sin, and these Nephilim, these fallen angels, were jealous of the pleasure that came along with sin, and said
yeah,
that the earth should have been for them instead of for people because we weren't good enough for it.
which is similar to kind of like what, whoever, I don't think it was Simon. It was somebody in like one of the that first dinner party episode that guy was kind of talking about.
Oh,
You
yeah,
remember?
it was, yeah, the priest, or not the priest, but the like theologian
Yeah.
who was
Yeah.
talking to the friars, and Father
Mm-hmm.
Bennett was like, that's
Yeah, that's
not
crazy.
correct
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah, that's what it reminded me of was like that guy's speech in the beginning.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So things are not going well at the Rant's house, but we go back to Tomas and his assistants come in and they're running through stuff and she's holding a feather, a red feather to be exact.
She's not just holding the feather. It's not just her stuff.
Mm-hmm.
She's reading The Devil in My Daughter.
Yeah. And he's like, where did this feather come from? And she's like, oh, it's just a feather. He's like, no, no, no. Like, where? And she's like, from the book. Like, it was just in the book. And I'm like, first of all, that's questionable. Like, I don't know how many times I've read a lot of books. I've read a lot of used books, and I've not found just like a random red feather in a book. So,
Like bookmarks that were like
yeah,
interesting bookmarks. And I've used like leaves and feathers as bookmarks
sure.
before. So like
It's not out of the realm,
yeah, it's
but
not completely unreasonable.
yeah. And then for the first time, maybe ever, Tomas uses his brain
Oh my God,
and
yes.
he's like
Finally.
162. And so he goes to page 162 and he realizes the demon isn't done, because basically the phrasing on 162 says that he's going to do whatever it is to take back the life that he lost from losing Regan. He
Yeah.
would always follow Regan.
Yep.
So that tracks 162. That's the one. And keep Henry around. He's a great oracle, it seems, for God. So
Yes. We love to see it.
then we have a brief interlude at Simon's where Marcus has been captured. And it's just kind of like hanging out while Simon's doing his thing. So that's, we leave off there. And last thing, we go to the Rant's house, and she tells Angela's telling the family, she's like, we're taking a family outing. We're going to go to the Pope's parade. We're all going to be together. And I was like, this is not good.
Not good at
Oh, and this is
all.
when she says she has to hurt them. Casey realizes that she's the one who killed Chris in this moment.
Yeah.
And that's when she starts choking Casey and hurting Henry. And then towards the end, right before anything else can happen, Tomas walks in.
Yeah.
Ba, ba, ba.
And Dan was like, oh, he's going to have to do something
Yeah,
because
he's gonna have to do
he's been
something.
a little useless. And I was like, yeah, well, Father Marcus is currently kidnapped and everyone else is dead. So if he doesn't, I don't know what happens.
It doesn't go well if he doesn't. This is his chance. He's gotten rid of the love of his life, so he has nothing left to lose, theoretically, aside from
Yeah,
his sister and
right?
his nephew that we haven't talked about since episode like 2. But
Oh, fuck, I keep forgetting that something tragic could still happen to Luis.
yeah, I'm wondering if they're going to bring that up, though. I'm wondering if that was like a like character introduction of like, here's Tomas, here's his family, here's who he is as a person,
Right.
and then
It
they
could
like
have
never bring it back.
it
You
also
know?
could have been like a red herring. Like we knew he was gonna
Mm-hmm.
have to lose someone or like he because priests like because in the not Father Marin was the old one. The guy who Father Tomas is the
Yeah,
mirror of, he lost his grandma and
right.
that was like what drove him to go into the exorcism. So like it was kind of like it might have been like a red herring of we knew he had to lose someone, so they like tricked us by like giving his family in the picture, and then
Mm-hmm.
LOL JK, it wasn't his family, it was actually this horrible woman.
Yeah, but I also wonder if like maybe I don't. Unfortunately, I don't think we're done talking about Jessica. I don't know if she'll appear again, but I'm
Mm,
sure she will come up again.
yeah.
um, but I wonder if like because next season's not about the Rances, I wonder if more of Tomas's family comes in, because I
Mm,
assume it will be his journey of becoming an exorcist. Like that's what I
right,
gather it will probably be, just from my brain, not from any real information.
right.
Um,
Well,
and so maybe they'll come back.
all my theories about what season two was going to be like are null and void because I
Dead.
really everyone's dead.
Everyone
I
died.
genuinely wanted it to be the Scooby-Doo gang of exorcists.
I would have liked that a lot, but also like I feel like Father Tomas like has to kind of do it on his own because
Oh,
he's out of
no,
crutch and everything else.
this season, Father Tomas was gonna have to put his big boy pants on and be the one to solve the
Mm-hmm.
problem. That's totally valid. I was all for that. I just didn't really want Mother Bernadette and Chester and Larry to be like dead, dead. That was
No, yeah,
really,
yeah,
I wasn't
no,
really for that part of it.
yeah. I wasn't a big fan of that either. Unfortunately, that is the way of it went, but it's fine. So I don't have any trivia, unfortunately, because they don't like to give me trivia for the show. So and I don't want to look up too much, so I don't want to ruin anything. So I'll probably have some
Yeah.
really great trivia for like the finale that we do in 12 weeks. But so stay tuned.
It's
But
funny.
do we want to? Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say it's funny because Doug asked about a specific Stargate episode that he wanted to be on again, and I said we will get there in 34 weeks. So that's right.
We'll bring it back then. I love it.
Who do I want to punch?
Yes, yes,
Pazuzu slash Angela. Piece of shit. I mean,
yeah. That's a good
that's
one.
kind of obvious, not really creative.
But like it's obvious in the way that like and it makes me laugh because in the very beginning you're like we can't just always punch the demon like we and it's like it hasn't been the case. Like we've had
Yeah.
plenty of other episodes where we're like not punching the demons or it's like a very specific person who's like possessed by a demon like and so it didn't end up coming out that way where we just tried to punch the same demon over and over.
That's true. That's true. I was
So it
so
actually so it's
worried that I
like
only was going to want to punch the demon because everyone was so nice in the
yeah
first episode. But no, I mean, in this episode, the only two people who I even really considered punching are both possessed by demons. So,
yeah yeah I mean I feel like there's a few people that could be punched but I mine would be Simon. Yeah, since she went with Angela, like it's the one I would go with. And like technically they're integrated, so like while demonic, they still are that person. They're just
yeah,
the demon version, I guess. I don't know.
yeah, I don't
So
know.
it's fine. So who's your MVP?
It's a tough one. There was a couple of really good people, and like obviously, there's the ones that I'm struggling with because they're dead. That I loved all of them, but in this particular episode, I have to pick Casey.
Yeah. Yeah, I would have also picked her. She's just the best. Um, but since you picked Casey, I'm gonna pick Kat
Really? Because
because
my
I
second would have been Henry.
so I thought my second would have been Henry because Henry did do a lot, but I think without Kat, Casey would have been lost because Kat's really what pushed her. I mean, in
Yeah.
the beginning, Kat was the only one who was like, "We're not walking on eggshells. I want to help you like get over this, not
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
let you
You're
suffer
not.
in it." And then whenever it was time to go, she like really got the push off because she was trying to
Yeah,
protect Kat. And so like maybe Kat wasn't the strongest or had the best like instincts, but she was the like conduit for Casey to do all make all these decisions.
that's totally fair.
And
That's so
she
valid.
stood behind her and was like, "We're doing whatever she says." And so like Henry probably was a better second choice, but like I'm gonna go with Kat. So
But,
yeah. So you have some predictions? How many people are gonna die? Body count?
um,
73. I don't know.
I was gonna say 162. Um,
Exactly. Yeah.
everyone's gonna die.
Probably
I
good
don't
people
think
at
the
least.
Pope will.
I don't think the Pope will either. I don't think, I mean, I think they're all kind of heading everything off. So I feel like the Pope's gonna make it.
But also, also, speaking of popes, um,
Okay.
no, because Angela had some shit that she said when she was talking about the um when she was talking about this pope and how he was not good and he she was like, "Oh, Pope Urban," but I don't remember which Pope Urban she said. Like wanted to hear people scream. And I wanted to fact check which like if this was a
Oh, in her
real
like monologue.
yeah. Um
I don't know. I didn't, I just assumed that she was making some of it up because for her benefit. I was like calling them a certain thing. But I don't know all the Pope's names. I'm not as
uh,
Pope familiar.
ugh. But now I feel like I need to check IMDb and see if the quote is on the quotes for this
It's not.
episode. It's not. There's no quotes at all on it. Oh,
They're all
damn it.
Pazuzu quotes.
Damn it. Oh, but
Mm-hmm.
she was Pazuzu.
Oh my God, you're right. There's probably on there.
I was like, wait. I was like, wait, that is Pazuzu. What are you
Oh
talking
my gosh.
about?
Oh, my brain. It's 11:30 at
Um,
night for
it
anyone who's
is
listening to
11:30
this.
at night and we've
And
lost
the
our
hottest day of the
minds.
year. So we're trying.
Okay. Let me it was
There's only
so
like three quotes, so it'll be fast to look. Like,
Yeah, it's so dumb that I'm like so hung up on this, but I really meant to look it up.
Well, if it's not in the
No,
quotes,
it isn't. It isn't.
then you're
Okay.
welcome to look it up and we'll share it on social media or something.
Yeah, I'm because she went on this whole speech about like this pope, and I wanted to look it up because some of the popes in history are some very fascinatingly terrible people. Um,
Like it's any leaders in history. Like you're
Oh
gonna
no, for
find some.
sure.
Yeah.
But I find it, the reason I find it fascinating is because there's still the idea of the infallibility of the Pope, despite the fact
Sure.
that historically we like recognize that some of the papal figures have been not good people, and some of the schisms
Yeah.
within the church have been like specifically due to popes being immoral, and yet the Catholic Church still
Mm-hmm.
believes in the infallibility of the Pope or infallibility of the Pope, and I just find it psychologically fascinating.
Yes,
Um,
yes, it absolutely is.
but like the Medicis and like a lot of the like and the Borgias and all of like the money and sex in Italy is all because of
Mm-hmm.
popes. And so like that is
I love that. I'm so fascinated by these Italian like the Medici's and Borgias and stuff, but like I don't know anything about them. Like I like am just like from the outside fascinated. I want to go watch all these TV shows about them.
I haven't
I
see
know
I
they're
haven't
like
wa- I
fictional for the most part, but
right.
like they, I'm sure
Um
they have underlying truths.
one of the podcasts that I listen to is called Stuff You Missed in History, and they just do
Yeah,
deep dives on really obscure historical topics. And I have listened to everything they've ever said about the Borgias.
yeah. This one, stuff you missed in history. It's like a 10-minute podcast or something. Though, it's that one that's really short.
No, well, the old episodes, the old episodes, like if you go back to the very beginning, were like
Yeah.
10-15 minutes, but most of the episodes are between like 35-40 minutes.
Oh, good. They get. Oh, okay. So I stopped listening because they were so short. I was like, I want to know
Yeah.
more. Like, so
No,
that's good to know. Okay,
they
I'll go
get
back
longer.
to them.
If you stick through it, they get longer. Like I just listened to one about Charles the Ninth, the Mad King of France the other day, and it was like 45 minutes. It was
Mhm.
good. Um,
Nice. Yes, I will. I will look into that. Any more predictions before we go off this like off the rails
I
episode?
no,
We've gone
because
from sports to exorcisms to royalty to like history. Like we have run the
it's been
gamut.
a wild ride, but it's because this episode, everyone that I love died, and I don't have feelings anymore.
That's fair. You're numb to it now. I get it.
If Henry dies, I
Um,
riot. That's my
I
only. I don't think
I
he will.
think
I don't think he will. I think you're
I think it'd be
correct.
bad writing if he did
Yeah. If he does,
because
that's why I'm saying if Henry dies, I riot.
yeah, it'd be lazy writing to just kill everyone off that's not going to be in the next season. And like it
Correct.
happens. It wouldn't like
I mean,
super
Angela
like it would
has to
surprise me
die.
for right. Well, Angela has to die. And that makes sense because you have but like some shows like even if they don't have to die, we'll just kill everyone off to get rid of them and start new for the next season.
I do
And I
have
don't feel
one
like this show will do
wild
that.
theory. I have one
Oh, I
wild
love a
theory,
wild
and
theory.
I have a wild theory just because I find it interesting if that's the direction they took it, but
Mm-hmm,
I don't
mm-hmm.
actually know that I think it's going to happen. And it was based on something that happened in this episode. In this episode, when they had that final party and everybody was there, and Maria gave her speech about what the Pope means to people,
Mm-hmm.
it felt very much like she had taken everything Pazuzu said about her desperation and how she was never going to get chosen so much to heart that she was almost going to flip back in the other direction. And I have a wild prediction that Maria is actually going to
Ooh,
help Tomas in the next episode and be on the good side. And
that's not a bad prediction.
that would be a fascinating direction to take her character in. I don't actually know if the writing on the show is good enough for that to happen.
I kind of feel like that's the best path because
Mhm.
I'm going to assume that Father Bennett has died,
Yeah, I think
but if he
he's dead.
hasn't, I think he's dead. Marcus is captured. Tomas isn't structured enough in this like clique that they're going to just buy into whatever he says. So he has to have someone on the inside that's going to help him flip everything in order to save everyone. I feel like, and I think you're right. I think Maria's the only option that's like in this clique because everyone else is either possessed
Mhm.
or like doesn't matter. Because like they have this
Mhm.
whole group, but like the ones that
But
matter have all been possessed except Maria.
yeah.
And so I could see, and I think if that happens, she'll die.
Oh no,
But
yeah,
I don't know.
I do think that she will have to die. But
Yeah,
I think that I don't know. I would be impressed if that's where they took it. If they take it there and do it correctly, I will be
yeah.
impressed. I like the show, but I also just don't know if I think the writing is actually good enough to do that well.
I agree. I'm not sure, like, and I know like we've made it through almost a whole season, and I still don't know where I stand with the writers. And like I mean, obviously we've had our screenplay writers, and we have the writer of the week essentially. So it's not even like we have the same writers every week. We have staff writers and stuff that I'm sure remain the same.
Yeah.
But like, there's no way to there's no way to know if they're going to do
Hmm.
it well or not. And I
Hmm.
haven't looked at enough like reviews to
Right.
see. Like I've kind of shied away. I usually try to wait till after I watch the
Right. Well,
season
the
to do
thing is,
stuff like that.
I only know one person who has ever watched the show, and
Yeah.
she loved it, but she also loves everything like horror, exorcism, all of it. Like she's never had a
Yeah.
bad thing to say about any of them. So,
See, I feel like I'm that person. I love everything horror, but I also will lead with I love this. It was terrible. You're not gonna want to watch it. Like I like know that it's
yeah.
bad or good. And like the only person
Oh,
I've seen this watched it is my aunt who listens to us, Aunt Carolyn. And she never finished it. But she didn't say if she loved it or not. She was just like, "Oh yeah, I've seen it. Oh yeah, I've seen that one too. Oh yeah." Like that was her response to it, which makes me think she didn't love it as much because she didn't finish it.
right.
But I don't know.
Yeah. So,
Who knows?
I
It's gonna be a wild one. Can't wait to see what happens. I'm very
me
interested.
too.
It's one that like even though we don't know how we feel about the writing, we don't know like how we feel about what the show's done or will do. It keeps you on your toes. You want to know. You want to watch the next
Hmm.
episode every week.
Yeah.
Like you need to know what happens next, even if like there's a lot you don't care about or like you don't
And
know what's gonna
and
happen or don't agree with them. Like
And Marlo did tell me that when I watch the season finale, I need to immediately call her. Like that's so
very Monica of her.
very Monica of her, yes. But so oh, sorry, I'm in pain. But so she said the season finale is wild, and we are not going to be able to expect any of it. So like
I hope
maybe
we
I'm
did.
right. Maybe
I
I'm
hope we
right.
did it. I
Yeah.
bet you are. I'm making it your prediction. So
Okay.
that sounds like the best one to me. All right. Well, if you have more wild predictions than the 17 minutes worth we just gave you, um, feel free to email us deathandaliens@gmail.com. You can find us on all of the social media at Death and Aliens. You can find me at CE Cloud 13.
And you can follow me everywhere at EMKAY_superstar.
And we will see you Sunday for Sci Fi Sunday.
Bye.